I was standing in my kitchen on Mother's Day morning, sunlight through the window, a small brown box in my hands. My husband stood 3 steps away, staring at the box, his face white. He whispered, "Don't open it." "Why?" I asked. He pointed. "Can't you see?" I looked closer and froze. Blood. Dried on the corner, a smeared fingerprint. My voice shook. "This is from Ethan, our son." 20 minutes later, the police pulled up outside. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. But before I tell you what was inside that box, you need to understand why my son disappeared 5 years ago. Because what he sent me that Mother's Day wasn't just a gift. It was a confession. My name is Claire. I'm 63. I live in the suburbs outside Pittsburgh. Tom and I bought this house when Ethan was born. 2 stories, white siding, a swing set still standing in the backyard, even though no child has touched it in years. Tom's a retired engineer. Doesn't say much. Never did. But he loved our son in a way that didn't need words. Or at least, that's what I told myself. Ethan was our only child. Quiet kid, gentle, liked to draw. He had my eyes, brown, soft, the kind that made you think he was listening even when he wasn't saying anything. 5 years ago, he left. One morning, he was gone. No goodbye, just a note on the kitchen counter. "I can't stay here anymore. Don't look for me." We looked anyway. I kept his room the way he left it, his bed made, his sketchbook stacked on the desk, the poster of some band I never understood still taped to the wall. Tom stopped going in there after the first year, said it hurt too much. But I went in every week, dusted, opened the window, let the air move through. At dinner, I still set 3 plates. Tom never said anything about it. He'd sit down, look at the empty chair, then look at his food. Every week, I sent Ethan a text. "We miss you. Come home." No response, not once. I called, hundreds of times. Voicemail. Always voicemail. After the first year, his number stopped working entirely. That Mother's Day morning, I wasn't expecting anything. I'd stopped expecting years ago. Hoping and expecting are different things. I still hoped, but I didn't expect. Then the doorbell rang. A delivery, small box, brown cardboard, no return address, just his handwriting. Ethan's. I knew it the second I saw it. The way he wrote the letter C in Claire, the loop, the slant. I stood there holding it like it was made of glass. My heart was beating so hard I thought Tom could hear it from the other room. He came into the kitchen, noticed the box, noticed my face. "What is it?" "It's from Ethan." Tom went still. Not frozen, just still. The kind of still that means a man is deciding whether to hope or brace for pain. I carried the box to the kitchen table, set it down, stared at it. It was small, maybe the size of a jewelry box. Light, but heavier than I thought it would be when I picked it up again. I smiled. I couldn't help it. After 5 years. 5 years of silence. My boy remembered me. But then Tom grabbed my wrist. His hand was cold, ice cold. And that's when I spotted it. The thing that made him whisper those words. "Don't open it." There was something on the corner of the box, a dark smear, brown, red underneath. I brought it closer to my face. My stomach dropped. Blood. Dried. Old. And next to it, a fingerprint. Smudged. Like someone had touched the box with hands that weren't clean. Tom was staring at me, his jaw tight, his eyes wide. "Claire." I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The box was still in my hands. The coffee I'd made earlier had gone cold on the counter. The clock on the wall ticked. Birds were singing outside. Everything was normal, except nothing was. "This is from Ethan," I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. "Our son." Tom reached for his phone. I didn't ask why. I knew why. Because when your son sends you a package with blood on it after 5 years of silence, you call the police. 20 minutes later, they arrived. But I need you to understand something. That box, that morning, it wasn't the beginning of the story. It was the end of one that started 5 years earlier. The night Ethan walked out of this house and didn't come back. So let me take you back. Let me show you where it all broke. Because if you don't know how we lost him, You won't understand why that box felt like a knife in my chest. Or why, when I finally opened it, I realized my son wasn't sending me a gift. He was sending me a goodbye. 5 years ago, Ethan was 23, fresh out of art school. He came home one weekend in May with news. We were sitting at the dinner table. Tom had made pork chops, I'd made mashed potatoes. Ethan barely touched his plate, just kept moving his fork around. Finally, he glanced up. I got into a residency program in New York for artists. I saw Tom's fork stop mid-air. New York? Tom said. Yeah, it's a year-long program. I'd get studio space, mentorship, a chance to show my work. Tom set his fork down. Slow, deliberate. And then what? What do you mean? After the year. Then what? You paint more pictures and hope someone buys them? Ethan's jaw tightened. It's not just pictures, Dad. It's my work. Your work? Tom leaned back in his chair. Ethan, you're 23 years old. You need something stable. Something real. I should have said something then. I should have stopped it. But I didn't. Dad, this is real. This is what I want to do. Want doesn't pay rent. Tom's voice was rising, not yelling, but close. Want doesn't put food on the table. I didn't work 30 years so my son could throw his life away chasing some fantasy. Ethan turned to me. His eyes. God, his eyes. Mom? I opened my mouth. My heart wanted to say yes, wanted to tell him to go, to chase it, to be brave. But what came out was different. Your father's right, Ethan. You need something you can fall back on. He stared at me. Like I'd hit him. Fall back on? Mom, I thought you understood. I do understand. But understanding doesn't pay bills. Tom slammed his hand on the table. The plates jumped. Enough. You're not going. That's final. Ethan stood up. His chair scraped against the floor. I'm 23 years old. You can't tell me what to do anymore. As long as you're under this roof. Then maybe I shouldn't be under this roof. The room went silent. Tom's face was red. Mine felt cold. Ethan, I said. My voice was shaking. Don't say that. Why not? You don't believe in me. Neither of you do. That's not true, I said. Isn't it? He studied me. Then Tom, all my life, you told me to follow my heart. Was that a lie? I said follow your heart, I told him. Not chase a fantasy. To you, my heart is a fantasy. Tom stood up. This conversation is over. You're staying here. You're getting a real job. End of discussion. Ethan's hands were shaking. And if I don't? I moved forward. I didn't mean to say it. But I did. If you walk out that door chasing this dream, don't expect us to catch you when you fall. He watched me for 3 seconds. Just 3. Then he turned and went upstairs. I heard his footsteps. His door opening, closing, drawers sliding, a zipper. Tom sat back down, picked up his fork. He'll cool off. But I knew the second I said those words. I knew I'd just lost my son. 10 minutes later, Ethan came downstairs with a backpack. I tried to stop him. Ethan, wait, please. He didn't acknowledge me. Didn't say a word. Just walked out the front door. Got in his car. The engine started. The headlights swept across the driveway. And then he was gone. Tom said he'd be back in a week. 5 years later, we were still waiting. The first month, I called him every day. Every single day. It would ring. Then voicemail. Hey, this is Ethan. Leave a message. I did. Over and over. Honey, please call me back. We can talk. Just call me back. He never did. The second month, I started writing emails. Long ones. I told him about the weather. About the neighbor's dog. About how I'd fixed the loose hinge on his bedroom door. I told him I was sorry. That I didn't mean what I said. That I wanted him to come home. I sent one every week. None of them bounced back. But none of them got replies either. The third month, I found him on social media. Or I tried to. His accounts were still there. But when I clicked on his profile, it said I was blocked. Tom too. Ethan had cut us out completely. By the end of the first year, I hired a private investigator. Cost me $800. The man found an address in Brooklyn. A small apartment near the subway. I didn't tell Tom. I just got in the car one Saturday and drove 6 hours. When I got there, the building was old, brick, 5 stories, no doorman. I stood outside for 20 minutes before I went in. Apartment 2C. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again. Nothing. A neighbor came out, an older woman. She glanced at me. "You looking for the artist?" "Yes, Ethan. My son. He moved out 2 months ago." Didn't say where. I stood there in that hallway and cried. The woman touched my shoulder. Didn't say anything. Just touched my shoulder and went back inside. That was the closest I ever got. Tom and I stopped talking about Ethan after the 2nd year. Not because we didn't care, but because it hurt too much. Every time we said his name, the air got heavier, so we just stopped. We'd sit at dinner, eye the empty chair, eat in silence. Our marriage didn't break, but it bent. Tom started working longer hours even though he was retired. He'd go to the garage, tinker with things, stay out there until dark. I'd hear him sometimes, through the kitchen window, crying. He thought I couldn't hear, but I could. At night, I'd lie in bed and replay that conversation, over and over. "Don't expect us to catch you when you fall." Why did I say that? Why didn't I just tell him yes? Yes, go to New York. Yes, follow your dream. Yes, I believe in you. But I didn't. And now he was gone. Holidays were the worst. Thanksgiving, Christmas, his birthday. I'd set his place at the table anyway. Tom would regard me like I was crazy, but he never said anything. He'd just sit down and eat. I kept sending texts. Even after his number stopped working. I'd type them out anyway. "We miss you. Come home." I knew he'd never see them, but I sent them anyway. Because if I stopped, it meant I'd given up. And I couldn't give up. The 3rd year, I found his website. He had a portfolio online. Paintings, drawings. They were beautiful. I didn't know he'd gotten that good. There was one painting that stopped me cold. A dinner table, 3 chairs, but only 2 people sitting. The 3rd chair was empty. The title was "The Distance We Choose." I clicked on his contact page. There was an email. I wrote to him. "Ethan, it's Mom. I saw your work. It's beautiful. I'm so proud of you. Please call me." 2 weeks later, I got a reply. 1 sentence. "Please stop contacting me." That was 3 years ago. I never heard from him again. Until that Mother's Day morning. When the box arrived, Tom was the one who saw the blood first. I was too busy smiling, too busy hoping. After 5 years of silence, my boy had finally remembered me. But Tom knew. The second he saw that corner, the smear, the print, something was wrong. But I didn't see it yet. Not right away. I was holding the box like it was fragile, like it might disappear if I gripped it too hard. My hands were shaking. "Tom," I said, "this is from our son, after 5 years. He sent me something." Tom didn't answer. He just stared at the box. His face had gone pale. I sat down at the kitchen table, set the box in front of me, ran my fingers over the handwriting, the way he curved the letters, the way he always pressed too hard with the pen. I could picture him writing it, sitting somewhere, thinking of me, deciding to reach out. This was it. This was the sign I'd been waiting for. Ethan was ready to forgive me, ready to come home. Maybe inside the box was a drawing, or a letter, or maybe just a photo. Something to say, "Mom, I'm ready to talk." I imagined opening it and finding a note. "I miss you too. Let's start over." Or maybe there'd be a phone number, a new one that worked, and I could call him, hear his voice, tell him everything I should have said 5 years ago. Tom stepped closer. His voice was quiet. "Claire, wait." "Wait for what?" "This is our son. He remembered Mother's Day. Look at the box." I am looking. I see his handwriting. I see a gift. Look at the corner. Near your name. I tilted the box toward the light. Squinted. There was something there. A smudge. Dark brown, almost rust-colored. At first, I thought it was dirt, or maybe ink, but it wasn't. I brought the box closer to my face. My stomach turned. It was blood. Dried, old. And next to it, a fingerprint. smeared across the cardboard like someone had touched it with wet hands. Tom. He was already reaching for his phone. "No," I said. My voice cracked. "No, don't. Claire. It's probably nothing. Maybe he cut himself packing it. Maybe. Look at it." I studied it. Really studied it. The blood wasn't just on the corner, it was on the edge too, and there was a dent in the top of the box, small, like someone had pressed down too hard. Or hit it. My hands went cold. The box suddenly felt heavier. I set it down on the table. Drew back. "What if he's hurt?" I whispered. Tom didn't answer. He was dialing. "Tom, what if—" "We're calling the police." "And tell them what? That our son sent us a box?" "That our son sent us a box with blood on it." The word hung in the air. Blood. Not a gift. Not a letter. Blood. I stared at the box. At the handwriting I knew by heart. At the smear I'd mistaken for dirt. And I realized Tom was right. This wasn't a gift. This was a cry for help. Or worse. This was goodbye. I dropped the box on the table like it had burned me. Drew back. Tom stood frozen. His phone in his hand. His thumb hovering over the screen. "We need to open it," I said. "No. We need to call 911. "The police?" "Tom, this is from our son." "Exactly. And there's blood on it." I picked the box up again. Slower this time. Turned it over. Examined every side. The blood wasn't just on one corner. It was on the bottom edge too. Smeared. Like someone had set it down on something wet. Or like the blood had leaked from inside. No. I pushed that thought away. There was something else. A dent on the top. Small. Round. Like someone had punched it. Or dropped something on it. I checked the postage stamp. Mailed from Brooklyn. 2 days ago. No return address. Just Ethan's name written in the corner where the sender's address should be. "Why would there be blood on it?" I whispered. Tom didn't answer. But his eyes said what he was thinking. "No," I said. "No. Don't even think that. Claire. He's not. He wouldn't." But even as I said it, I wasn't sure. 5 years of silence. 5 years of me not knowing if he was eating, sleeping, safe. 5 years of wondering if he hated me, if he blamed me, if he wished he'd never been born to parents like us. "What if he's hurt?" I said. "What if he's in trouble and this is his way of asking for help?" Tom's jaw tightened. "Then we call the police. Right now." I stared at the box. At the name written in Ethan's hand. At the blood that had dried days ago. My throat felt tight. "Give me your phone," I said. "What?" "Your phone. I'm calling him." "Claire, his number doesn't work. You know that." "I don't care. I'm trying." Tom handed me his phone. I dialed Ethan's number, the one I'd memorized, the one I'd called hundreds of times over 5 years. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Then a recording. "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." I tried again. Same thing. My hands were shaking. "When did his number get disconnected?" "I don't know." "Tom, when?" "After the first year. You know that." But I didn't want to know that. I wanted to call my son. Hear his voice. Make sure he was okay. Tom took his phone back. Started dialing 911. "Wait," I said. "Claire. Let me open it first." "Absolutely not. He's my son, Tom. If he's in trouble, I need to know." Tom's hand dropped. He studied me. Then the box. His face was a mix of fear and helplessness. "If you open it," he said quietly, "you can't unsee what's inside." I knew that. But I opened it anyway. My fingers found the edge of the lid. I lifted it slowly, carefully, like the box might explode if I moved too fast. Inside was brown paper. Wrapping paper. Folded over something, stained with the same rust-colored blood. I peeled back the first layer. Then the second. My heart was hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. Tom stood behind me, his breathing shallow. The last layer came away, and I saw it. A ring. Not just any ring. Ethan's graduation ring. From college, silver band. The school name engraved on one side, the year on the other. 2019. He'd worn it every day since graduation. Said it reminded him of what he'd worked for, what he was going to build. And now it was here. In a box. Covered in his blood. I picked it up. The metal was cold, heavy. There was blood on it too, dried in the grooves of the engraving. I turned it over in my hand. Tried to understand why he would send this, why he would take it off. Then I spotted the paper underneath. Folded. White. My name written on the outside in Ethan's handwriting. I didn't want to open it. Some part of me knew. Knew that once I read whatever was inside, everything would change. But I opened it anyway. The handwriting was messy, shaky. Not like Ethan's usual careful script. The letters slanted. Some words were smeared, like he'd been crying when he wrote it. Mom, I'm sorry. For everything. I thought I could make it work. I thought I could prove you wrong. But I failed. I failed at everything. The art, the dream, all of it. And now I've done something I can't take back. By the time you get this, it'll be too late. Don't look for me. Don't try to save me. Just know that I loved you. And I'm sorry I wasn't the son you wanted me to be. Ethan. The paper slipped from my hands. Fell to the floor. No. The word came out of me like a gasp. Like I'd been punched in the chest. No, 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 no. I grabbed the ring. Held it tight. The metal bit into my palm. Tom picked up the letter. Read it. His face went gray. Claire. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. My son, my boy. He was going to hurt himself. Or maybe he already had. The blood, the ring, the letter. Tom, he's going to. I couldn't say it. Couldn't make the words real. Tom grabbed his phone. Dialed. His hands were shaking. 911. What's your emergency? My son, Tom said. His voice cracked. We just got a package from him. There's blood on it. And a note. He's going to hurt himself. What's your son's name and last known address? Ethan. Ethan Reeves. He lives in Brooklyn. But we don't have an exact address. We haven't spoken in 5 years. 5 years? Yes. This box. This is the first contact we've had. The operator's voice was calm, professional. When was the package mailed? 2 days ago. And the note? What does it say? Tom glanced at me, then back at the phone. It says goodbye. The operator asked more questions. Address, phone number, description. Tom answered them all. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was staring at the ring in my hand, at the blood dried in the silver grooves, at the year engraved on the side. 2019. The year Ethan graduated. The year he came home and told us about New York. The year we told him no. The year I said those words. Don't expect us to catch you when you fall. And now he was falling. And I wasn't there. The operator was still talking, asking Tom questions. But I couldn't sit there anymore. Couldn't just wait. I ran upstairs, grabbed my jacket, my purse, my keys. Tom met me at the bottom of the stairs. Where are you going? New York. Claire. I'm not waiting for the police. I'm not waiting for anyone. That's my son. The police will handle it. No, I will. Tom stared at me, his face torn between fear and understanding. Then he grabbed his own jacket off the hook by the door. Then I'm coming with you. We didn't argue, didn't discuss it, just got in the car and left. But I couldn't drive to New York blind. I needed an address. I ran back inside, up to Ethan's room, started tearing through his desk drawers, old notebooks, receipts, ticket stubs. There had to be something. A phone number, a friend's name, anything. I found a box under his bed, shoebox, full of business cards, old contacts from art school. I dumped them on the floor, shuffled through them. Most were from Pittsburgh, a few from Philadelphia. Then I saw one. Ryan Carter, roommate. A phone number written on the back. I grabbed my phone, dialed. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped it. It rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Hello? Ryan? Ryan Carter? Yeah, who's this? I'm Claire. Claire Reeves, Ethan's mother. Silence on the other end. Then, Mrs. Reeves? Yes. Ryan, I need to find Ethan. Right now. Do you have his address? Another silence. Longer this time. We haven't talked in about 6 months. We had a falling out. My stomach dropped. Please. He sent me something. I think he's in trouble. What kind of trouble? The kind where I might lose my son. I heard Ryan take a breath. Last I heard, he was living in Bushwick, some studio apartment above a bodega. But Mrs. Reeves, Ethan wasn't doing well. He stopped showing up to exhibits, stopped answering calls. I tried to check on him, but he shut everyone out. Everyone. Not just us, everyone. Do you have an address? Not exact. But it's on Knickerbocker Avenue, near the L train. Red door. I can't remember the number. Thank you. I hung up, turned to Tom. Bushwick, Knickerbocker Avenue, red door. That's not much to go on. It's enough. We got in the car. Tom drove. I sat in the passenger seat, with the ring still clenched in my fist. The metal had warmed from my skin, but it still felt cold, dead. The drive from Pittsburgh to New York is 6 hours. We didn't talk much. Tom's hands gripped the steering wheel, white knuckles, his jaw set. I stared out the window, watching the trees blur past, the signs, the exits. I kept thinking about the letter. I wasn't the son you wanted me to be, but he was. He always was. I just didn't know how to tell him. 2 hours into the drive, I started talking. Not to Tom, to myself, or maybe to Ethan. I don't know. How did I become this person? The mother who let her son walk away? Tom didn't answer. But I kept going. I told myself I was protecting him, that I was being realistic, that if he chased this dream and failed, it would destroy him. But the truth is, I was scared. Scared that if I told him yes, and he failed anyway, he'd blame me. So I said no. I pushed him toward safety, toward the life I thought he should have, and I lost him. My voice cracked. I lost him, Tom. Tom's jaw clenched tighter. But he didn't speak. He didn't have to. I could see it in his eyes. He was thinking the same thing. We were 2 hours into the drive when my phone rang. Unknown number, I answered. Is this Claire Reeves? Yes. Ma'am, this is Officer Martinez with the NYPD. We got the information you called in about your son. We located the building you mentioned. We're outside the apartment now. My heart stopped. And? Ma'am, the door's locked from the inside. We can hear movement, but no one's answering. Break it down. We need to wait for. Break it down. That's my son. There was a pause. Then, we're working on it. How far out are you? 4 hours, maybe less. We'll keep you updated. The line went dead. I glanced at Tom, his foot pressed harder on the gas. We were going to find him. We had to. Because if we didn't, I'd never forgive myself, and neither would he. 4 hours later, we pulled up to Knickerbocker Avenue. It was late, after midnight. The street was dark except for the streetlights. A bodega on the corner, closed. And next to it, a building with a red door. Police cars were parked outside, lights flashing, 2 officers standing by the entrance. I jumped out of the car before Tom even turned off the engine. Where is he? I shouted. One of the officers turned. Middle-aged, Hispanic, badge said Martinez. Mrs. Reeves? Yes. Where's my son? 3rd floor, apartment 3C. We've been trying to get in for the past 20 minutes. Then break the door down. Ma'am, we need to assess the situation before we. My son is in there, and he might be dying. Break it down. Martinez looked at his partner, then nodded. Let's go. I followed them inside, Tom right behind me. The stairwell was narrow, smelled like mold and old paint. We climbed, my legs shaking, my breath coming too fast. 3rd floor, down a hallway. Apartment 3C. The door was wood, old, peeling paint. Martinez knocked, hard. NYPD. Open the door. Nothing. He knocked again. Ethan Reeves. This is the police. We need you to open the door. Still nothing. I stepped forward, put my hand on the door. Ethan? Ethan, it's Mom. I'm here. Please open the door. Silence. Martinez looked at me. Then at the door. He stepped back, nodded to his partner. The other officer had a battering ram. Small, handheld. He swung it once. The door shuddered. Twice. The frame cracked. 3 times. The door burst open. We rushed in. The apartment was small, one room, a kitchen in the corner, a mattress on the floor, and the walls, God, the walls, covered in paintings, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all the same image, a family, a mother, a father, a son. But in every painting, the son was fading, disappearing. In some, he was a shadow. In others, he was gone completely, just an empty space where he used to be. And in the middle of the room, sitting on the floor with his back against the wall, was Ethan. My son. He was thin, too thin. His hair longer than I remembered. His face pale, white t-shirt stained with blood. His left hand wrapped in bandages, red seeping through. He was alive. I ran to him, dropped to my knees. Ethan. He didn't respond, just stared straight ahead, his eyes empty. Ethan, look at me. Nothing. I grabbed his shoulders, shook him gently. Ethan, it's Mom. I'm here. Behind me, Martinez was calling for an ambulance. Tom stood in the doorway, frozen, his hand gripping the frame like he might collapse without it. Ethan, please. Finally, he blinked, turned his head, met my eyes, and I saw it, the recognition, the pain, the shame. Why are you here? His voice was hoarse, like he hadn't used it in days. Because you're my son. I'm not your son. Not the son you wanted. You are. You always have been. You said I'd fail. I was wrong. He glanced away. But you were right. I did fail. I took his face in my hands, forced him to face me. No, you didn't. You're alive. You're breathing. That's all I need. Tears started running down his face. Slow at first, then faster. His whole body shook. I couldn't make it, Mom. The art world. It chewed me up. I had nothing. No money. No gallery. No future. You have a family. Do I? After 5 years? 5 years or 50 years. You're still my son. And I never stopped loving you. He sobbed. Full, broken sobs. The kind that sound like they're tearing a person apart from the inside. I pulled him into my arms, held him. He didn't pull away, just buried his face in my shoulder and cried. I tried to destroy them, he whispered into my neck. All my paintings. I took a knife to them. I examined the walls. Some of the canvases had slashes through them, deep cuts, angry, violent. And then I took the knife to myself. My chest tightened. I pulled back, inspected his bandaged hand. Why? Because I needed to feel something. Anything. I felt invisible, Mom, like I didn't exist. You exist. You've always existed. Tom finally entered the room, slowly, like he was afraid to get too close. He knelt down beside us, his eyes red, wet. Ethan. Ethan faced him, and for the first time in 5 years, they made eye contact. I'm sorry, Tom said, his voice breaking. I was too hard on you. I thought I was making you strong, but I was just making you feel small. Ethan's face crumpled. You said I was throwing my life away. I was wrong. You were braver than I ever was. You chased something you loved, and I was too scared to let you. I failed, Dad. No. You tried. That's not the same thing. Tom reached out, hesitated, then put his hand on Ethan's shoulder. Ethan didn't pull away, just stared at him, like he was seeing his father for the first time. I'm proud of you, Tom said. That word, proud. I watched Ethan's face, watched him hear it, process it, break from it. He collapsed forward, into Tom's arms. And Tom held him, the way he should have 5 years ago, the way he should have every day since. The 3 of us sat there, on the floor of that tiny apartment, surrounded by paintings of a family falling apart. But we weren't falling apart anymore. We were holding on. The paramedics arrived. They checked Ethan's hand. The cuts weren't deep. He'd need stitches. But he'd be okay. Physically, at least. Does he need to go to the hospital? I asked. One of the paramedics nodded. For observation. And a psychiatric evaluation. I looked at Ethan. He was staring at the floor. I don't want to go. You have to, I said gently. Just for tonight. And I'll be there. The whole time. He looked up at me. You're not leaving? Never again. They lifted him onto a stretcher. I held his hand the whole way down the stairs, out to the ambulance. Tom followed behind, silent, but present. Before they closed the ambulance doors, Ethan grabbed my wrist. "Mom? Yeah? I sent you that box because I thought it was over. I thought I had nothing left." I squeezed his hand. "You have us. You've always had us." But I didn't know that. Not until now. The paramedic climbed in, closed the doors, the ambulance pulled away. Tom and I stood on the sidewalk, watching the lights disappear around the corner. "We almost lost him," Tom said. "But we didn't." He looked at me. "What if we'd waited? What if we hadn't come?" "But we did. That's what matters." Tom nodded, wiped his eyes. We got back in the car, followed the ambulance to the hospital, and for the first time in 5 years, I felt something I thought I'd never feel again. Hope. The hospital in Brooklyn was small, old. The waiting room had plastic chairs and fluorescent lights that hummed too loud. Tom went to get coffee. I sat alone, staring at the ring still in my hand. It was 3 a.m. The world outside was dark, quiet. Just the sound of machines beeping down the hall, a nurse walking past, the hum of the lights. I turned the ring over in my palm. The blood had dried completely now, dark, almost black. The engraving caught the light. 2019, the year everything broke. Why had I said no? Why had I pushed him away? I thought about that night. Ethan, sitting at the dinner table, telling us about New York, about the residency, about his dream, and I'd looked at him and seen failure, saw him struggling, starving, calling me from some tiny apartment asking for money, asking for help, blaming me for letting him chase something impossible. So I'd said no. I'd pushed him toward safety, toward stability, because I thought that was love, protecting him from pain, from disappointment, from falling. But I was wrong. Love isn't keeping people from falling. Love is being there when they do. I'd spent 5 years thinking Ethan left because he was angry, because he was young and stubborn and didn't understand the real world. But that wasn't it. He left because I made him feel invisible, like his dreams didn't matter, like he didn't matter. And he'd spent 5 years trying to prove me wrong, trying to make it work, until he couldn't anymore, until the weight of it crushed him, and he'd taken a knife to his paintings, then to himself. Not to die, but to feel something, to prove he was still real. A doctor came out. Young woman, scrubs, tired eyes. "Mrs. Reeves?" I stood up. "Yes. Your son is stable." We stitched his hand. The cuts weren't deep. But he's going to need follow-up care, psychiatric evaluation, therapy. "Can I see him?" "He's sleeping now, but you can sit with him if you'd like." I followed her down the hall. Room 212. She opened the door, and there he was. Ethan, lying in a hospital bed, an IV in his arm, bandages on his hand. His face was turned toward the window, eyes closed, breathing steady. I sat down in the chair next to the bed. The doctor left, closed the door behind her. I watched my son sleep, his chest rising and falling, the way it used to when he was little, when I'd stand in his doorway at night and just watch him breathe, making sure he was okay, making sure he was safe. But I hadn't kept him safe. I'd pushed him away, and he'd spent 5 years alone, struggling, hurting, feeling like no one cared. I reached out, touched his hand, the one without the bandages. It was warm, real, alive. "I'm sorry," I whispered. Even though he couldn't hear me, "I'm so sorry." Tom came back, handed me a cup of coffee, sat down in the chair on the other side of the bed. We didn't talk, just sat there, watching Ethan sleep, the way we used to when he was a baby, when we were new parents, when everything was simple and we thought love meant keeping him close. But love doesn't mean keeping someone close. It means letting them go, and being there when they come back. I studied the ring again. Then I set it on the table next to Ethan's bed, where he could see it when he woke up. Because it wasn't a symbol of failure, it was a symbol of trying, of being brave enough to chase something even when everyone told you no. Tom glanced at me, his eyes red. "We almost lost him. But we didn't, and we're not going to." "What do we do now?" We do what we should have done 5 years ago. We tell him we love him. We tell him we're proud of him. And we let him know that no matter what happens, we're here. Tom nodded, reached across the bed, took my hand, and we waited. For our son to wake up, for the second chance we didn't deserve, but got anyway. The sun was coming up when Ethan opened his eyes. Light through the hospital window, orange, soft. He blinked, looked around, saw me sitting next to him, then Tom on the other side. "You're still here," he said. His voice was rough, tired. "Where else would we be?" He looked at his bandaged hand, then at the ring on the table. "You brought it. You sent it to me. I thought it would be the last thing you'd have of me." I leaned forward, took his hand. "The good one. It's not the last thing, because you're here, and we're here, and that's all that matters." He turned his face away, tears sliding down his cheeks. "I failed, Mom. I couldn't make it work. The art, the dream, everything you said would happen, happened. I was wrong, Ethan, about all of it." He turned back to me. "You weren't wrong. I did fail. No. You tried. And trying isn't the same as failing. But I have nothing. No career. No future. No. You have us." "Do I? After 5 years of not speaking? After everything I said? Everything I did?" "Yes, you do. You always did." Tom cleared his throat. His voice was shaky. "Ethan, I need to say something." Ethan looked at his father, wary, guarded. "I was wrong," Tom said. "That night, 5 years ago. I should have told you to go. I should have supported you. But I was scared. Scared that if you left and succeeded, you wouldn't need me anymore. And if you left and failed, you'd blame me for letting you go. So I said no. I tried to control you, and I lost you." Ethan's jaw trembled. "You said I was throwing my life away. I know. And I was wrong. You were brave, braver than I ever was. You chased something you loved, something that mattered to you, and I should have been proud of that. I should have told you that. You never said you were proud of me. Not once." Tom's face crumpled. "I know, and that's my biggest regret. Because I am. I'm proud of you, Ethan. I'm proud that you tried. I'm proud that you didn't give up for 5 years. I'm proud that you're my son." Ethan broke. The sobs came hard, shaking his whole body. Tom stood up, moved to the side of the bed, put his arms around Ethan, and Ethan held on, like he was drowning, and Tom was the only thing keeping him above water. I watched them, father and son, holding each other for the first time in 5 years. And I cried too, not from sadness, but from relief, from hope, from the knowledge that we were going to be okay. After a while, Ethan pulled back, wiped his face, looked at me. "Mom, I don't know how to come back from this. I don't know how to start over." "You don't start over," I said. "You just start from here, from this moment. And you don't do it alone. But I don't have anything. No apartment, no money, no. You have a home, in Pittsburgh, with us, if you want it." He stared at me, like he didn't believe what he was hearing. "You want me to come home?" "Yes, for as long as you need. A month, a year, forever. It doesn't matter. You're our son, and we want you home." "But what about the art? What about—" "You can paint in Pittsburgh. You can paint anywhere. What matters is that you're safe, that you're healing, that you're with people who love you." He looked down at his bandaged hand. "I don't want to give up. I don't want to stop painting." "Then don't," Tom said. "Paint, but do it because it makes you happy, not because you're trying to prove something." Ethan nodded slowly. "I sent you that box because I thought it was the end. I thought I had nothing left to give. You gave us the truth," I said. "You told us you were hurting, and we came. We'll always come." He reached for the ring on the table, picked it up, turned it over in his palm. "I took this off because I thought it didn't mean anything anymore. Like I didn't earn it. You earned it, and it still means something. It means you tried. It means you were brave enough to chase a dream, even when everyone told you not to." He looked at me, then at Tom. Then he slid the ring back on his finger. "Okay," he said quietly. Okay, I'll come home. I squeezed his hand. Tom put his hand on Ethan's shoulder, and for the first time in 5 years, we felt like a family again. Not perfect, not fixed, but together. And that was enough. 2 months later, Ethan was home, not just physically, but really home, in the house where he grew up, in the room where he used to draw, sleeping in the bed we'd kept made for 5 years. The first week was quiet, careful, like we were all learning how to be a family again, how to talk, how to share space, how to exist together without the weight of 5 years sitting between us. He went to therapy twice a week, a woman in town, specializing in trauma and depression. He didn't talk about it much, but I could see the change. Slow, small, but real. One morning, I woke up early, heard sounds downstairs. I went down, found Ethan in the kitchen, making coffee. He turned when he heard me. "Morning, Mom?" 2 words. Simple, but they meant everything. "Morning." We sat at the table, drank coffee, didn't talk, just existed, together, the way families do. Tom started asking Ethan about art. Not in the way he used to, not with judgment or fear, but with curiosity, real curiosity. "What are you working on? Can you show me? How do you decide what to paint?" And Ethan would answer, slowly at first, then more. And I'd watch them, father and son, building something new, something better. One afternoon, Tom said, "Can you teach me to paint?" Ethan looked at him like he'd spoken a different language. "You want to learn?" "Yeah. I want to see what you see." So they painted together. In the garage, Tom's old workspace, they set up an easel, bought canvases. Ethan would guide Tom's hand, show him how to mix colors, how to layer, how to see light. And Tom would try. Badly at first, but he tried. And that was what mattered. Ethan found a small studio in Pittsburgh. Nothing fancy. Just a room above a coffee shop. But it was his. A place to paint, to create, to be himself. He didn't talk about galleries or shows or making it big. He just painted, because he wanted to, because it made him whole. One evening, he came downstairs with something wrapped in brown paper, set it on the kitchen table. "I made this for you." I unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a painting, a family, 3 people, a mother, a father, a son. But this time, no one was fading, no one was disappearing. They were holding hands, clear, bright, whole. At the bottom, he'd written a title, "The Distance We Close." I stared at it, tears running down my face. "Ethan." I wanted to replace the old one, the one about distance, because we're not distant anymore. I hugged him, held him tight. "Thank you." He hugged me back, and for the first time in 5 years, it didn't feel forced, it felt real. A few days later, Ethan came to me with the letter, the one he'd sent in the box, the suicide note. "Can we burn this?" "Why?" "Because I don't want to remember myself like that. Like I was at the end. I want to remember who I am now, trying." We went to the backyard. Tom brought matches. We stood by the old grill, the one we used to use for summer barbecues. Back when Ethan was little, back when everything was simple. Ethan held the letter, looked at it one last time, then set it in the grill. Tom lit the match. The paper caught, curled, burned. We watched the words disappear, the apology, the goodbye, the shame. And when the ash floated away on the wind, I felt lighter, like something heavy had finally lifted. "People ask me what was in that box," I said quietly. "They want to know what scared me so much." Ethan looked at me. Tom too. But the box wasn't the scary part. The scary part was realizing how close I came to losing my son forever, not because he left, but because I let him go without fighting. I looked at Ethan, at Tom, at my family, standing in our backyard, together, alive. That Mother's Day, I learned something. Love isn't about keeping people safe from failure. Love is about being there when they fall, and making sure they know that no matter what, you'll always help them stand back up. Ethan nodded. Tom put his arm around my shoulder. We stood there, watching the last of the ash disappear, and I thought about the box, the blood, the ring, the letter, all of it. It wasn't a gift. And it wasn't goodbye. It was a cry for help. And we answered. That's what family does. We answer. We show up. We hold on. Even when it's hard. Even when it hurts. Even when 5 years have passed and we think it's too late. It's never too late. Not if you're willing to try. Not if you're willing to forgive. Not if you're willing to love the person in front of you instead of the person you wanted them to be. Ethan is home now, painting, healing, living. And every morning, when I see him in the kitchen making coffee, I remember. I remember what we almost lost and what we found. Each other. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because we all have someone we need to reach out to. Someone we pushed away. Someone we need to tell. I'm sorry. I love you. Come home. Don't wait 5 years like I did. Don't wait for a box with blood on it to remind you what matters. Reach out today, before it's too late. Thanks for listening to my story. And remember, it's never too late to bring your family back together. Subscribe for more true stories that remind us what really matters in life.